welcome to Heartbeat. My name is Delilah Kapoor and I'm the Executive Director at the Heart of Biddeford. We're trying a new program here to put on public access some of the events we have coming up. And today we're really lucky to be joined by some great people. I want to introduce you to the whole group. Tammy Ackerman is the Executive Director at Engine, and we'll be talking with her a little bit more. Michael Chase is the founder of the Kindness Center. He's involved in an event we have coming up, and I'd love you to meet him and find out more about what he does. This is Jason Malcolm, and he works at Joyful Harvest. He's a program coordinator there, and he's a very important part of the downtown. A little later, you'll also meet Rob Duquette, who is going to be playing some music. So we'll have a conversation here on the show and some musical entertainment. We hope you sit back and relax and enjoy meeting these folks. Coming up this month, September 21st, we have Chalk on the Walk. It's our 9th annual festival, and it brings artists from all around doing chalk drawings on the sidewalks throughout the downtown. It's a great chance to just walk through the whole Main Street and Alfred Street and see the businesses that are there and get to see some great art. We also always have a component where there's a community mural where kids just get down on the sidewalk and make this huge, beautiful mural, and a lot of other kids events as well, like pony rides and a bungee jumping. And it's just a great way to come downtown and have fun and just meet other people the way kind of the downtown should be, just a chance to run into folks, a great sense of place down there. This year, we're going to be doing something special the night before Chalk on the Walk, an evening of kindness. It'll be a talk at Biddeford High School. It'll go from 7 to 8:30 p.m. and it's going to have music from Rob Duquette and a very provocative speech from Michael Chase as well. But to get things started with our great crew here, I want to talk a little bit to Tammy Ackerman. Thank you for being here, Tammy.
Oh, of course. Thanks for inviting me.
Tammy's a huge part of the downtown, and we are lucky that you've decided to be a festival partner this year for Chalk on the Walk. You have so much to do with the arts going on in the downtown that we sort of begged you, could you come and help us a little bit?
Yeah.
And you've been doing great things as well as, the posters and the designs of, things that you help us with too. Would you talk a little bit about how you've been involved in Chalk on the Walk in the past and why you think that this is a good event for the downtown?
Well, of course. Actually, I think this is the 9th annual Chalk on the Walk. I guess I did put that on the poster. And I've been involved pretty much for the past 9 years as a volunteer through the Heart of Biddeford or as part of the board of directors. And it's a great event. I think it's one of the best events that we do in the downtown through the Heart of Biddeford, that is. And it's a really great family-oriented event, and it's a day of just creativity and community spirit. So my involvement in the past has been, like I mentioned, through the Heart of Biddeford, but since founding my organization, Engine, which has a more specific mission of bringing arts and creative people into the community, I was very happy to be invited to join. Twisted my arm kind of hard, but no, it was actually really nice to be invited to join this effort this year as Engine, as a festival sponsor. As I mentioned, one of our major goals is to bring creative people into the community, and this is a perfect venue to do that with.
You hooked us up with several interesting players this year. Do you want to talk about the blacksmith and
Oh yeah.
puppets?
So as part of the expanded festival, it used to be called just the Chalk on the Walk Festival, and now it's called the Chalk on the Walk Arts Festival. So as part of that initiative, we're looking for, and we've been looking for, and recruiting artists and craftspeople to come down and do live demonstrations. So this year we have Sam Smith, the blacksmith, and that's his real name, and he runs a foundry up in Portland. It's in one of the original foundry buildings along the commercial working waterfront, and so he'll be setting up his, I guess, bellows and doing, pounding of hot metal and things like that to show people what it's like as an artisanal blacksmith, what their world is like. The other project that we have, or the other group that we have, is the Improvised Puppet Project, and they've done all kinds of things up in Portland and various other communities within the state. I think they did a zombie puppet show at one point. They're not going to be doing zombies here. It's a little less threatening, less scary, I guess, for the kids. But they're going to be doing a workshop and then inviting children to be part of the performance. And so they'll do that throughout the day in stages, in little kind of 1-hour bites, and ask kids to get involved in that effort. And then we have a young artist. I'm not sure I should say her name because she wants to remain anonymous, but she's it's the Artomatic machine, and so it's a cardboard house basically, and you can feed in crayons, and you get a piece of artwork out. And so the little individual, I can't say her name.
She's too famous to
She's
mention.
too famous. She doesn't want to be known. She wants people to, think that it's a robot. So anyway, you can put crayons in, and she'll spit out a drawing for you of her own original artwork. And let's see, what else do we have? I think that's the headline events that we have. This stuff. So.
I think it's really an exciting addition.
Yeah, definitely.
Heart of Biddeford does a lot of downtown revitalization from all kinds of different angles, recruiting businesses and supporting the ones that are there already, doing, design improvements or park upkeep in the downtown. But I really feel like I've learned a lot about arts as a way for economic development and community development. Certainly this festival has a whole arts component and just brings the community together and brings new people to town. But would you be able to just talk a little bit about arts as, an engine? That's your organization for development.
Right. Well, you can look at a variety of communities, like, Portland's a perfect example of how their downtown, Congress Street was pretty bad, and the old Port for that matter, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, it wasn't like it is now. And, artists started moving into the community and doing cool things, and with that brought, visitors and interest from other people. And so that was kind of the beginning of the economic revitalization of that area. And then, of course, you had up in Portland, you had the Portland Museum of Art that had been there for quite some time, and then Maine College of Art, located right on Congress Street. And those two institutions are drivers of the creative economy within Portland, and you can read about Portland left and right, and how it's such a great place for artists and creative people. And so it's not reinventing the wheel what we're doing by any means, but the idea is that we do exciting creative things. We get people that are artists and other designers and creative people to come into the community and find the ones that are already here and connect them with what's going on, and you start to have a scene. You have this vibrant, lively scene, and people are attracted to that and want to be around that and possibly live here or locate a business downtown. So it's the beginning of sort of a process of revitalization.
Absolutely. There's one business that just was drawn to town, a woman named Roxy Sugar, her company Angel Rocks, heard about Biddeford, had family in the area, and she loved the vibe, you might call it, of what's going on, just seeing so much activity and positivity, and that drew her company here from Brooklyn, and now they're opening a store on Alfred Street. So that's, drawing in new people, but I'm also seeing all kinds of folks who've, I love running into Pete LaMontagne, who's, a staple, what do you call it, an anchor of the city at, an art walk event or at one of the Main Street Challenge winning businesses or something like that. There's, the goal is to include everybody who's here as well as draw in new people. So yeah, I think you've done great work with it.
Thank you.
One question before I want to go to a little music from Rob. A lot of people are fascinated by what used to be the Rennie's building, and now it's being known as the Marble Block building. You were gifted it from the Rennie family, not you, but the engine organization. Here's your building, Tammy. Yeah. And there's just such exciting plans and prospects. Is there anything you want to let people know about that? The Art and Design Center, is that what it might be called?
Yeah, that's a very generic term, right, or a name right now, for lack of something else coming up. But the idea with that building is, and you're right, it was not gifted to me personally, but gifted to Engine, our organization, about 2 years ago. And our plan for the building is to turn it into a center for creativity, a center for art and design, focusing on not only visual arts, but also design and technology. So, it'll be a community organization with educational components that will teach kids how to design using computers, to do 3D modeling, to do some 3D printing, and but the focus primarily is on design thinking. So how can we use our creativity and our skills to help solve problems, social problems, or at least improve situations. So whether it be painting fire hydrants, or more of like what the Heart of Biddeford did with the trash can lids, or beautification of storefronts, we can help with that kind of effort in tandem with the Heart of Biddeford. So the idea, of course, is to enliven that facade, that building. I think it's 50 feet, linear feet of storefront that has been vacant for 7, going on 8 years. And that block is pretty dark. And so the idea that we'll light it up and we'll have people moving in and out of that space will help everybody on that end of Main Street, because it's such a significant building, and we're very excited about it. We are beginning construction right now. We're waiting for the power company to hook up our power.
Yay.
At some point, and then we can start doing demo work inside and moving along.
Great. Oh, I'm so excited about that. Well, all this talk about art is making me hanker for some music. And we're so lucky because we are joined today by Rob Duquette. He's, I think, an incredible musician, plays in a lot of bands, but also has several CDs of his own. I personally think that he's got a real Jackson Browne sound. Do you hear that often, Jackson Browne references?
He's my favorite.
I've sung with him, you know.
Really?
Yeah, sung a little backup here and there.
I'm going to quit when I get to do that.
Yeah. You are. Well, would you play us a song? And
I'd be happy to.
Rob will be the opening act for the Friday night evening of kindness that we have, and he'll also be opening the day of Chalk on the Walk, so enjoy.
All this time, you always get it right. All this time, you'll see them as they are. All this time, nobody breaks your heart. All this time, when they say goodbye. All this time, nobody breaks your heart. This time, you always do it right. All this time, they'll see you as you are. All this time, no, it won't be so hard. All this time, always trust your friends. All this time, it won't be so hard. You'll only know what you need to know. You won't have to wonder why. You won't have to fear all of those things you hear. You'll be safe under the sky. High, high.
I don't feel like I should clap.
I can't clap with my hands still everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You write a lot of your own songs that you play out, and a new CD I see
Yes,
here.
new CD.
I'm going to hold that up in case the cameras can.
Don't spill the water, though.
I know. Duquette This Time.
Yeah.
That's the theme song from
Yeah,
it.
that's the title song. Yep.
I felt so relaxed listening to that music. Is that what you play music for? Is it, just to get you in certain moods and...
Music's been so important and so, just such a big part of my life. I think it does a lot of things for me, But that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
I know as a drummer and percussionist, if I don't play for a couple of days, I physically feel it. Like I start get jittery. I gotta play, So yeah.
It's healing.
Very much so.
It's great.
Yeah.
I know there's research that shows if you play music and learn music, you also do well at math. But I think doesn't always apply. But I think just just for human Happiness, I think
Yes.
is great. Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yes. And I think on all levels. No, you don't have to play in front of people or anything. You could just have an instrument that just relaxes you and whatever. I think. I think a lot of people of a certain generation were disserviced by music teachers telling them they can't sing, they can't do this, and it's not about that. It's about the stuff you were saying, relaxing you, being just a joy in your life, for anyone.
Great.
Yeah.
Can we come back in a few minutes and hear some more from you?
Sure.
All right, thank you. I have a swivel chair, so I'm going to swivel back this way. Speaking of people who bring happiness and joy, I'm happy to have Michael Chase here today from the Kindness Center.
Thank you.
I met you actually when I moved to town a couple of years ago down at Union Church. You're an active member down there and just involved in that community. Could you introduce yourself to folks here a little bit and just tell us about you and the Kindness Center?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm just so excited that I've got we have kind of a bromance going on with Rob over here.
I don't blame you.
And hearing that song, it's been awesome. I mean, his music has been a huge part of my life. I mean, I've been very fortunate. Before these songs made, the CD what it is, it's just amazing. But he'd send me these emails. Hey, man, what do you think of this one? Hey, what do you think of this one? And I got to hear these songs before anybody else did. And it's just beautiful. So I can't say enough good about his music. And not just the music, but what Rob didn't mention is the value that he adds to the kids' lives. His children's music. I mean, this CD is absolutely brilliant, but his children's music too is just, if you haven't heard his children's CD, you have to listen to it. It's just, I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome. So you give me $20 later. We're done.
Yeah, right. He'll be playing some of that on Saturday morning at the Chalk on the Walk Festival, and I know it's not children's music that make the adults plug their ears like we all want to sing along.
It's not like Barney or right. No, it's. I mean, it is so good. It is, and it really makes you feel. You don't just hear Rob's music; it makes you feel something. So it's beautiful. So enough about you already. All right. But thank you very much. Yeah, it's been. Wow, almost 6 years since my wife and I, Kara, we owned a photography business. And we were in the business for 16 years, something that we thought we'd do for the rest of our lives. But it was 6 years ago I kind of had this epiphany of what I really wanted to do with my life. And it was just this whole crazy idea of trying to change the world with kindness. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I think that the world has never been hungrier for. I mean, you turn the news on any given day, and there's so much heartbreak and just disappointment and sadness that you see time and time again. And so it brings us down. And I had this idea of, okay, what if we actually turn kindness into something that we could inspire the world to live in different ways and to actually use it as a method for personal and spiritual development. So that if you adopt kindness as an actual lifestyle, it not only transforms your own life, but it's making the world a better place. And so I had this awakening and told family and friends, yeah, I'm going to quit my job after 16 years as a photographer, and I want to start this thing called the Kindness Center. And I give my wife, Kara, credit for that. She goes, wouldn't it be cool if there was a place called the Kindness Center? And of course, it sounds like there would probably be rainbows and unicorns and pixie dust, and it's beautiful. And I was thinking, it's got to be taken, So I went online and I go, there's a domain place. And I go, thekindnesscenter.com. It was there.
Wow.
So it was a sign. So it was the best $8.99 I've ever spent. I grabbed that domain. And we really didn't know what we were doing. I had a tremendous passion for the field of personal and spiritual development. I mean, I was always reading tons and tons of books, and it was photography was a huge blessing in my life, but I was always searching there was a void inside of me that I was trying to fill. Even though, people say, well, if you have the business or if you have X amount of money or a home, that you'll be happy. And I had these things, but there's still just wasn't something there. And so we decided to close the studio, and family and friends, and the people in this community who were just, such a huge part of our lives. And, whether it was high school seniors or families or children that we were photographing, they were like, you can't give this up. You can't quit. Do kindness on the weekends. You got to keep your studio open. But I've always been, it's all or nothing for me. When I decide on something, I have to go full out. So we closed the photography studio, and one of the first things that I really wanted to do was to share this message with students. A lot of what I talk about is, a lot of my stories are a bit heavy, because some of the inspiration, actually most of the inspiration for the work that I'm doing, it relates to unkind family history. And so middle school age and up seemed perfect. The younger kids, the stories and the message was a little bit heavy. And within the first year of starting the Kindness Center, we began a full year program working with Biddeford Middle School. And it was just this phenomenal experience. And my goal was to go in and to present something different than the whole anti-bully message. We're always against things. We're anti-war instead of being for peace. We're anti-drugs and alcohol instead of being for healthy living. And the bullying problems, of course, they're everywhere, and it's a heartbreaking thing. But it's always, let's be against the bullies. And I said, no, let's be for kindness and compassion and love and respect. And just that little, just that subtle change, it made all the difference. And so we began working with middle schools, and then from there I just began traveling all over New England and outside of the New England area to share this message.
That's great. I love that, switching it to the inspiration versus the not that, but actually striving toward and forwards with something.
Yeah, that, Mother Teresa, I always think about Mother Teresa and that beautiful story when she was asked in the 60s to march against the war in Vietnam. All these people came together and said, we have to end this war, march with us, and they were all against. And, she just looked at them in her sweet, beautiful way, and she said, no, I won't march against the war. But if you ever have a rally for peace, I'd love to be there. So whatever you're for, it empowers you. Whatever you're against, it only weakens you. So we need to start putting our energy into, the positive side of things. What can we do to make change instead of fighting with things all the time?
Right. Is there an example of something you've seen with maybe some of the middle school students somewhere that you got inspired by what, you offered them this message and then they turned around and used it?
They are incredible. I'm always in awe of the things that they do, because I'm almost 44 now, but when I started all this I was still in my late 30s, and for some guy to walk in, okay, who is this guy with no hair, kind of dorky, and talking about kindness, they're not going to bite. They're going to but they were on board immediately and started to do incredible things, whether it was in school or in the community or in their homes. And just sometimes there's a little act of kindness that they would come and tell me, say, hey, I decided to not play video games last night, and I read a book to my little sister instead. Yeah. Or after a snowstorm, the kids decided that they would go out in the school parking lot, and they all got a bunch of snow brushes, and they would clean off the cars for the staff. Yeah. So the staff would get out and their cars were all clean.
That's great.
Of course, the teacher that had the brand new Beamer, he wasn't too crazy about that. Get that kid away from my car.
Kindness can go too far.
Yeah, exactly. But, or just the way they were speaking to one another, the numbers of conflict and drama and bullying, that stuff was just starting to really, you'd notice it was dropping. But they're great kids, they and they're just like we forget as adults that to be that age, it's so painful at times. And especially today, you've got Facebook and the texting and all the technology that creates the anxiety and stress. And Jason knows this. You do amazing work with kids. And yeah, they're hungry like the rest of us for something positive and inspiring in life.
I love how kindness is, from the examples you gave, it's so doable. There's something I can do. I can't really figure out how to end war tomorrow, but I can go out and do something in my family or in my community that makes a difference, and that's, I love that it's something tangible like that.
It's the little things that really do make the biggest difference. Just those small acts of kindness that can create a huge ripple effect, and we always forget that. We think we have to do these big, huge projects to, really transform the world. But it's all the little things. Sometimes it's just, you open a door and say hello to someone. People on the streets, every morning I'm up very early walking my dog, and we run into a lot of different people. And you can just see that some people, they're tired and they're beaten down, and they look like they've, maybe been through something challenging. And just to look at them, acknowledge them, and say, hey, good morning, and try to spark a conversation, just to show that you care in some way, can turn a life around.
Right.
So, and in turn, they can do the same.
Listening to you is so inspiring, and it brings me back to a conversation that I had earlier this past week with an individual who works in the arena of domestic violence. And he happened to come into the gallery, into Engine Space, while we were talking, while I was talking with an artist who's going to be doing a show. He got into the Maine State Prison and is interviewing prisoners and having them write letters to themselves before they were incarcerated. And one of the things my friend who works in domestic violence said was, kids who are in 4th, 5th grade or whatever, in that middle school area, they don't raise their hands and say, when asked the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? They don't raise their hands and say, I want to be a criminal or a prisoner or whatever, They're firefighters, engineers, whatever, and so that's a perfect age that I think you're talking to, where you can make a difference, and it's that one little thing that might propel them down a path of positivity and, making right choices and stuff. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation because it was so relevant,
right.
And
yeah, in this age group, really, they have embraced it, and I think we have to remember also. There's so much talk about bullying and the emphasis that these are bad kids. They're not bad kids. They're hurting kids. So often a bully is a bully because they've been bullied, or as it's been said, that hurt people. And that's what I find time and again. Sometimes the bullying comes from the schoolyard or on the streets. Sometimes it comes from home. And they bring that negative energy to school with them, and they just they take it out. So they're not bad kids. They're just kids that need to know that someone really cares about them. And at the schools I go to, I'll give a presentation, and it always amazes me. These kids will form a hug line throughout the auditorium to give me a hug. Because I talk a lot about, I do these free hugs, and random acts of kindness events. And so many of these kids will step up, and you can feel it. When sometimes a kid will hug you, you know that he probably hasn't been hugged in who knows how long. So I always try to remember that these kids they're suffering, and not all of them, but there are many out there that are hurting, and they just want to know somebody cares.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why your presentation on September 20th, the night, it's called An Evening of Kindness, isn't for young kids. It's actually for the adults in the community to come and hear this message and think about what we can do in our homes, in our neighborhoods, how we can support teachers and administrators to create an atmosphere where kindness is expected in school or in after-school programs. And so we're hoping for a great, hundreds of people who would come and be part of this message, I think.
Yeah, it would be wonderful, and it's such a simple message. It's incredibly simple. I didn't invent kindness, It's not new. But the thing that I have found, in order to live a kinder life, you have to live an inspired, happy life. And that's really what I do, whether I'm working with students or adults. I mean, I've been traveling all over the U.S. and Canada throughout the last year. And it's just about helping people to become more inspired and energized and happy in their lives, learning to pursue their dreams. You know, do what you love in life, because inspired people, they just, you know, they have a better energy about them, and they tend to be a little kinder. If you hate your job,
how can you be nice?
It's hard to be nice if you can't stand the people you work with and what you're doing. So do what you love. Forgiveness is always a big thing. You know, I talk a lot about forgiveness. It's one of those things that it truly holds people back, because if you're filled with a lot of anger and resentment, you build a wall around your heart and you stop trusting and you don't let people come into your life. So it's very much a personal development type of message that that's wrapped in this package of kindness. It's kind of my secret thing. It's like I'm just trying to I want to make people happy, but what I really want is them to go out and change the world for the better. So I'm trying to create all these happier, healthier lives, and ultimately they'll go out and make the world a very different place.
Well, everybody who gets to spend time around you does get that inspiration, just, you know, hearing about your life and how you do things. And Michael also chose to have this event this Friday night, September 20th, part of the Chalk on the Walk Festival, be a fundraiser for two organizations in our area, Joyful Harvest and the Stone Soup Food Pantry. Both organizations that do huge amounts of work to make our community better. And Michael just said it needs to be a fundraiser. There needs to be a $10 charge at the door, and all that money needs to go to Joyful Harvest and Stone Soup. And I'm really glad that as Heart of Biddeford puts on an event, it has this really tangible helping the community aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I mean the work that you do and what Kathy Duke at Stone Soup. It was funny, back in 2008, I created an event called 24 Hours of Kindness, which you may have heard about, where I go out for a full 24 hours and just doing random acts of kindness that whole 24-hour period. No sleeping, no breaks, just doing things for other people. And it's this crazy, insane. I did it in New York City last year. I did not wear my Red Sox hat. I didn't think that was a good idea. But when I was wrapping up that event back in 2008, we were looking for something to do. And there was Stone Soup. And so we started knocking on the door and hey, can we volunteer? Can we help out? Do anything? And they were great. They let us in. Kathy hadn't arrived yet, and I had never met her before. And so I was there with some other people that were helping me with this event. There was two other guys. And Kathy walks in, and you know, there we are. This was like hour 22, and we're just like, kind of looking beaten down. We're wearing skull caps and looking kind of ragged. And Kathy comes in, and she's, checking us out. And well, she didn't say a whole lot, but I found out later that morning, she thought that we were like a couple of convicts, three of us. We were all, like trying to put in our time. We had to do community service.
Yeah. We're all doing time,
yeah,
they say.
So it's kind of I know she was supposed to be here today, but she had something else going on. But she is an amazing, amazing woman who does so much good for this community. And she's not just changing, but I think she's saving lives. I really believe that. So she's such a blessing to this town.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad that you're friends with her and connected with that organization so that we could do this. We're going to talk with Jason in a minute about Joyful Harvest, but how about we get a little bit more fuel from Rob Duquette? With, you ready to play another tune?
Sure.
Yeah, I think one would be great.
Okay. It's called My Home. He worked hard, he worked all his life. His memory rolls when he's in it. The last sip is taken from his cup. It will be full in a minute. And he walks into the sidewalk with a friendly smile. He still knows a few of the faces. They walk into the awning, a little fast reach. The place where he's made his home. This is my home. rugs wear out. Their love never faded in their brownstone on a back bay street. Time never waited. And he walks her to the sidewalk, friendly smile, still knows a few of the faces. What a thought passed through each year on the place where he's made his home. This is my home. Why should I leave? Where else would I go? This is my home. You don't leave your home. And he's sitting on a gold mine. He just sees her face. They would pay him $500,000 just to have his place. This is my home. Why should I leave? Where else would I go? This is my home. Why should I leave? Where else would I go? This is my home. You don't leave your home.
Rob Duquette. Yes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there a story that goes with that song?
There is,
Can
yeah.
you tell it?
Yeah, an older gentleman I knew when I was in Boston owned a condo. He owned it since the 40s, and he had, raised kids and been there with his wife all these years, and at this point his wife had passed on and he lived in this condo alone, worth $500,000. This place was incredible, it was still very much furnished from the 1940s, but it was still, the property was extremely, valuable. And when asked, and he had no pocket money. He would eat at soup kitchens. Couldn't afford, food or clothes or anything. When asked, why don't you sell it and live the high life for your retirement or whatever, and his reply was basically like, where am I going to go? Is my home. This is all I know. So I was really touched by that. His desire to stay where he was, regardless of his comfort. So that's kind of where that came from.
It's going with Michael's theme of money not buying the key to happiness.
Yeah. He could have got all kinds of money for the place, but I can't imagine he would have been happy in another place. So.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Do you have some upcoming gigs this month?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing the children's music at Chalk of the Walk, like you mentioned.
You're playing at Gritty's in Portland.
Oh yeah.
And Run of the Mill in Saco.
Yeah. That's with the group.
Oh, okay.
Getting the group together. Duquette, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Get some different sounds going with the group. So.
And what's this gig at Jonathan's in Ogunquit? That's November 22nd.
Yes,
right?
Opening for Ari Hest at Jonathan's. Yeah,
Oh,
that'll
wow.
be fun. He's great. He's a good guy.
What an amazing venue, too.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
It's like the singer-songwriter venue of the state. pretty
Yeah.
much.
Oh
It's
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be playing there. Yeah.
Great. Can we come back to you in a little bit and hear
Love
another
to,
two?
yeah.
All right.
Good,
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you.
So we've been talking about the Heart of Biddeford event, Chalk on the Walk, which is Saturday, September 21st. It goes from 10 a.m. till 3 in the afternoon. And this year it has an arts festival component with artists and crafters, as well as all the chalk drawings for the downtown. And every year, of course, has all kinds of kids' activities like pony rides and the bungee jumping thing that I'm really looking forward to this year. I don't know if grown-ups can do it, but I really want to. We also have some neat components like a puppetry group and a blacksmith and maybe even little latte art, or at least that'll be coming sometime this fall. But for our first time, we're doing a fundraiser event the night before Chalk on the Walk. It's called An Evening of Kindness, and it features Michael Chase. That'll be at Biddeford High School at 7 p.m., $10 tickets. You can get those through Heart of Biddeford on our website, heartofbiddeford.org, or through our office, which is on Main Street. But the fundraiser will be benefiting Joyful Harvest and Stone Soup Food Pantry, and we have Jason Malcolm from Joyful Harvest today, program coordinator, is that right?
Yes.
There? Can you just, a lot of people know about Joyful Harvest, but if you could just give an update on what's going on at Joyful Harvest, what do you attempt to do there? Who's served by Joyful Harvest?
Sure. Well, the school year is just getting underway here again, which is always a busy time. What we do there primarily every day, we have after-school programming for kids. Any kid age 7 to 17 can come in, no cost. There's never any cost for services we provide. And we've grown to offer nutrition education, cooking classes, a lot of arts programming, which is always good. The kids really love that. We have homework assistance. We have healthy snacks. There are computers for homework, that type of thing. And during school, it's kind of the place for kids to go in that in-between time where they're out of school and their parents may not be home from work yet, or in some situations, unfortunately, they may not feel like they want to go home until they absolutely have to, for a variety of reasons. And we're that place where the kids can go and they're there with their friends. They can spend their time doing a variety of activities, kind of forget about the day they had at school, or hopefully not too much, because we do try to get them to do their homework there. But a lot of them that don't have that place to go after school, if it's a friend's house or whatnot, they can come there and spend a few hours. And in the summertime, we also offer summer programming, which is in the mornings, which is especially good because there's there's not that school time that takes up half the day in the summer. So we also offer lunch for them, and it's much more structured in the sense that we have outside groups come in. I know we have music. Actually, I believe your wife comes in, does some music with the kids, some bucket drums and all kinds of different instruments, which the kids really love that. So it's just a place where kids can come and be welcome. And we also try to do a lot of be involved in the community. Around Christmas time, we sponsor a Christmas event where the kids can actually shop for items for their parents, sort of a reverse. The parents, that's often a time where they're worrying about what they're going to get for their children, or how they're going to provide for Christmas to make Christmas traditionally what their kids see with their friends and their classmates, and we sort of give it to the kids as an opportunity to give back to their parents. So that's very successful as well. There's breakfast, and kids come in and shop and go through, and it's always a really good community event, which we always love to be a part of. Community events that really just involve people helping out other people, kids, adults, really anything. And a lot's been going on Main Street, more and more. We like looking across the street and seeing some work going on there in the building. We won't be able to tell any people anymore that we're across from the old Rennie's building, because it'll have a name, and it'll be things
You can
going
still
on
say
in
that,
there.
it's
So
fine.
it probably would.
Where Rennie's
easier
used
for
to be
people.
will still be the same
Yeah.
for a while. Yep.
So all in all, we just try to do as much as we can for the kids in the community, and reach out and show the kids that community outreach is important. Having a place for them to go is important, and we try to teach them how to give back as well.
It's amazing. It's so great to walk in there and see the activity and so many happy faces, smiling and goofing around, as well as just feeling like they're safe there. You do have staff who are employed to work there. Shay Stewart-Boulay is the executive director and your program coordinator, but you're really fueled by a lot of volunteers. Is that right?
Yes, we are the two full-time staff, or full-time in the sense that we're there. We're the two that you'll see when you come in most of the time. And outside of that, it's volunteers. We rely on UNE volunteers, which the past year we've worked with the medical school there, and they have a lot of really great volunteers that come in, and they put on community meals for the kids once a month. We actually have one coming up in a couple weeks. and retired teachers, librarians, that type of thing. And our big resident artist is also a volunteer. He comes in twice a week and really helps that program with the kids. He's so creative.
Frankie's
and
a
the kids
volunteer. He does all, oh my gosh, wow.
So he donates a lot of his time and resources to come in and explore all different types of things with the kids. We've had lots of sort of reclaimed art, like repurposed cardboard stuff going on in our big window out front there, and some ads for the school supply drive that we just completed working with United Way. And they made a big pencil, and it looked like sort of a desk scene on the floor. And we had people coming in asking, how'd you get that pencil to stand up, this 6-7 foot pencil that was suspended there with fishing line. And I didn't even know how we got it up there. It just showed up one day after they were working in the window. So, it's volunteers really make it happen. And like I said, the beginning of the school year is a little slow. The college students are easing into school, so they're not really taking on volunteer opportunities. So we have Frankie, we have a couple other volunteers from the summer and from last school year. But on a daily basis, you'll see me there every day, and Shay's there quite frequently as well. She does a lot of work out of the office, meetings and that type of thing, being the director. But I will be there every day working with the kids, making sure that the things are running as well as they can.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I'm sure if people want to volunteer, they can contact you. Is it a website that they should look up?
The website has the contact information. You can also
Joyful
contact us.
Harvest Neighborhood Center or?
JoyfulHarvestCenter.org.
Center.org, okay.
Yes. And there's our number, email, it's on there. They can also stop by. I know a lot of the UNE volunteers live in some of the apartments on Main Street up above. They just sort of stop by, and we have volunteer applications, a pretty simple process. And we are, obviously it's in the afternoons, Monday through Thursday currently, and you can just stop by between 2 and 5, pick up an application if you're interested, or just come by and see what's going on there. Yeah.
Great. And events like this, the Evening of Kindness, make a difference to the bottom line there because, money doesn't grow on trees, and yet somehow people have to, buildings need to be, spaces need to be paid for, staff need to be paid.
That's
so,
right.
Hopefully people will continue their donations to Joyful Harvest as well as through this event that night.
Yeah, as a small nonprofit, it seems there's so many of them that are there's fundraisers going on left and right and things like that. But the important thing is that we're still there doing the work that is needed in the community, and as long as we're able to be there, which hopefully is a long time, we'll continue to do that. And it's really great to see people looking to help us out, and other organizations as well, just raising awareness and also just putting on great events that are also good in their own right for people to go check out and participate in.
That's great. Well, I think just looking around this group and knowing that it's not necessarily people helping out Joyful Harvest, I think there's a big, the word that's coming to mind is synergy, but it's giving back. Those kids are out helping in the community. They're bringing joy to people downtown. They're growing up to be really productive people of the community because they've learned right from you as well as their families about giving back, and so all of these play in together and fit well together, I think. So.
I agree.
That's great. Anything else anybody's excited about with Chalk on the Walk or the Evening of Kindness that we should make sure to mention?
Well, there's one other thing for the Chalk on the Walk I forgot to mention earlier is the Before I Die wall.
Oh yeah, talk about
which is
that.
sort of like the bucket list, that we've all heard about. But it's a national project, I guess, and so we're part of that. And what we'll be doing is putting up plywood panels that are painted with chalkboard paint, and you might have seen these up in Portland and other communities. But there's a stencil, and so it's Before I Die blank, and there's a ton of blanks to fill in, and so people can write on the board what they want to do or experience or give back or whatever it might be. And we're hoping that there's a lot of kindness illustrated on those Before I Die walls too. So that should be fun.
Great. And that the artists who do the chalk drawings will be asked to reflect on the theme of kindness, kindness to self, kindness to others, and kindness to our planet. So are you going to be doing some events during the day on Saturday, or some kind of a, is that still to be worked out?
Yeah, I think we're working on something.
Okay.
Rumor has it there may be a table. I may have a table, and we were hoping that possibly a list of little spontaneous or random acts of kindness that that kids could do, or adults. And so we may have some materials there and just give some ideas, and yeah.
A hug line would be nice.
Oh,
We could form
yeah.
like spontaneously call for a hug line, and we could all.
Yeah, if we could get a hug line going to maybe Saco, do you think we could get
Oh, is there a Guinness World Book of
Yeah, I
Records for
don't-
the longest
there-
hug line?
there
Maybe we
must
could
be.
try. Yeah.
May it be Biddeford. Yes.
I'll tell the kids about that. I'm sure they all love coming down to the Chalk on the Walk already. So be some new stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be down there.
Yeah, and just to say too that we use the term artists, but anybody that wants to try to draw, or I mean, we welcome all levels of artistic
Absolutely.
ability, so you don't have to be a professional artist to take part in this event. There are cash prizes for, I think, first, second, and third
Yes, yeah.
for the chalk drawings, and I think it's juried on how well the drawing illustrates the theme.
Yeah.
But just don't be afraid to come down and draw a square. We really do need artists, and that word is used loosely.
Well, I did it once.
Yeah,
That's
and
how
I-
loosely it is.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Yeah.
we'd love people to sign up either at the Heart of Biddeford office or through our website, heartofbiddeford.org, and just come do one of the squares that happens throughout the downtown.
It can be a group too of artists. It can be a
Right,
group
right.
of kids, an organization that wants to take on a square as artists.
Right. A
and-
group of
and
fifth
do it.
graders has
Sure.
done it.
Oh yeah, it'd be wonderful.
Girl Scouts.
Yep,
Things like that.
anything.
Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit from some great people who are participating in the Chalk on the Walk Festival and the Evening of Kindness the night before. We hope you'll join us on September 20th for the Evening of Kindness, and then Chalk on the Walk from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the 21st of September. We're going to go out with a little music from our lovely friend Rob Duquette, who has some great original music. And hope you have a great evening or morning whenever you're watching this show, middle of the day, middle of the night. And we're glad you joined us on Heartbeat. Take it away, Rob.
She's too good for me. 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 I pull a chair. She's not there with anybody else but me. She flips her hair. She's not there. I'm invisible. I'm invisible. She's too good for me. 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 There was a time, didn't have a dime. Nobody ever looked at me. Now it's my turn. I've money to burn. I'm invincible. Hey, I'm invincible. She's too good for me. 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 She could have anybody else besides me, but I know what she sees in me. She could have anybody else besides me. Know what she sees in me. She flips her hair. They all stare, but I'm invisible. I'm invisible. She's too good for me. She's too good for me. She's too good for me. She's way too good for me. She good for me. She go hard.